Chapter 13, Hate the Rich. Why did you suddenly call your big brother?
Fong Mo walked out of the company's entrance as the workday ended. He swept his eyes over the streets and turned to where the crowd seemed to have gathered. As he expected, the very handsome man was the center of everyone's attention as he leaned lazily against the wall of a store, reading a web novel on his phone. His lips were curved into a slight smile. Fong Mo was surprised that such a physically impressive man had such a cute hobby. In his mind, the powerful individuals of the world would not have time to waste on such idle activities. He was the perfect example. Since he was young, he had never finished a novel, even if it was a world-famous classic. Fong Mo walked towards Ye Shuang under the watchful eyes of the audience. He glanced nonchalantly at Ye Shuang's phone and commented, "How are you?" "Not bad." When Ye Shuang noticed that the person she was waiting for had finally arrived, she left the reading app and put the phone back in her pocket. Then she exclaimed in shock, "Aren't you busy? I thought you had to work overtime tonight." Fong Mo naturally replied, "Only a chaotically run company needs constant overtime. Besides, I think I've assigned each worker assignments that suit their personal abilities, so there should normally be no overtime." Ye Shuang held her tongue, but instead she tactfully said, "But that doesn't sound like what I heard from my friend." "Never mind, it's not important." Ye Shuang suddenly realized that it was her boss she was talking to. Although he wouldn't know that she was his employee in her current state, she would have to continue working for him after changing her gender again. Even if she doubted she would be able to keep her job for long, she had to at least make sure her last monthly salary wouldn't be affected, right? After dismissing the subject, Ye Shuang pointed to the coffee shop behind her and suggested, "I haven't had dinner yet. How about I buy you a meal to thank you for helping me with my clothes and giving my friend a much-needed break from his work?" Fong Mo put his palms around his lips to cough and whisper softly, "Here." His eyes were wide with disbelief. It wasn't that he was looking down on the economic restaurant, but it cut short what he had already planned. "That was just an excuse. In fact, I asked you out with the intention of inviting you to dinner to thank you for everything you did for me last night." Fong Mo sighed and smiled rather helplessly. "But who would have thought that Mr. Yi has already stolen what I meant?" Ye Shuang suddenly remembered that Fong Mo had mentioned something along these lines yesterday. "Don't worry, I'm fine with anything as long as there's food." With Ye Shuang's cooperation, Fong Mo led them to another restaurant. After giving the waiter the room number he had already booked that afternoon on the phone, two waitresses materialized to lead them to a comfortable private room. The head chef here comes from a long line of palatial chefs, and this restaurant serves many unique dishes. After taking their seats, Fong Mo made the introductions. Even though we live in an information age, and a lot of information has lost its secrecy, there is still a lot of hidden knowledge, such as secret recipes passed down from generation to generation. That aside, the ingredients used here are guaranteed to be the best and freshest, so even the most common dishes are supreme and heavenly. "I understand." Ye Shuang nodded with false sincerity. "Only the special and unique for the rich, am I right?" Fong Mo instantly felt ashamed. He felt wronged. It was not the intention of the rich to demand better treatment from others, they just wanted a better life for themselves. With enough money, who would be stupid enough to lower their standard of living just to please the general public? It may sound crude to say this, but if a person's monthly salary was in the hundreds of thousands, would they care if a single potato cost 1.99 or 2.99? For Fong Mo, the most important thing was taste. For a delicious meal, he would not hesitate to spend a little more, because he felt it was worth it. Fong Mo coughed loudly and realized that any further explanation would only make things worse, so he smiled and stopped talking. In the end, he wasn't trying to gloat, he sincerely wanted to give his friend a delicious dinner. However, this made Fong Mo realize that his new friend had this special quality, hatred for the rich. No matter how he looked at it, Ye Shuang belonged to the upper echelon of society, but he had a similar habit to the public. He found it rather interesting. The more Fong Mo learned about Ye Shuang, the the more he realized how contradictory this person was. He was comfortable in his own skin, but this person kept denying his talents and indomitable presence, as if living a life of mediocrity was what he was used to. Could it be simple humility? Or was there something more to this friend that he had not yet discovered? He suddenly remembered the unfortunate affair that concerned his own house. Fong Yimou glanced around before pushing the thought out of his mind to focus on presenting the restaurant's specialties to Ye Shuang. Since he was only presenting the food, Ye Shuang paid much more attention this time. Just as they were discussing what to order, Fong Mo's phone, which was sitting on the table, started ringing. Sorry, Fong Mo politely apologized as he picked up his phone to look at it. Instantly, the smile on his face became softer and kinder. There was an extra closeness and happiness that wasn't there before. Fei, why did you suddenly call your big brother? Ye Shuang continued to rummage through the menu. She wasn't interested in people of her original gender, and besides, it wasn't like she hadn't met that arrogant young woman at the company before. Fong Mo ended the call after another 2 or 3 sentences. After that, he smiled rather shamefully and said, "That was my sister. She said she hadn't had dinner yet either, so you don't mind if she joins us, do you?" Ye Shuang wasn't the one paying, so of course she didn't mind. Therefore, the order expanded to include several dishes that were apparently her favorites. The two of them chatted while waiting for the dishes to be served and the darling daughter of the Fong family to arrive. As if it were a work of fiction, just as the waiter arrived with the first dish, the door opened to reveal the Fong family gem. Big brother. You won't believe what happened to me today, I'm so upset. The fiery princess rushed into the room with her explosive temper, but when she glanced at Ye Shuang sitting in the room from the corner of her eye, she seemed to lose the ability to speak.
Chapter 14, So shy, why isn't there a person in front of you?
The lady in red, Fong Fei, stood frozen in front of the door for a full minute before she recovered. She adopted a demeanor as cold as ice and gave Ye Shuang a slight nod. Nice to meet you. Me too. Ye Shuang flinched. How could this young woman seem even more unapproachable than when she was at the company? Ye Shuang's observation was not wrong. In an instant, the fiery woman turned into an ice queen, the fury that surrounded her earlier completely faded away. She looked away from Ye Shuang condescendingly. With her chin held high, she coldly asked Fong Mo in a voice dripping with displeasure, "Is this your guest?" Fei. Fong Mo frowned as she looked at her sister with disapproval. Fong Fei frowned coldly. She swept Ye Shuang with her condescending gaze before grabbing her purse and turning around. "Excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom first." Then, she stomped away on her high heels. Fong Mo turned to Ye Shuang with an apologetic and friendly smile. "I've never seen Fei act so shy in front of a stranger. I'm really sorry, please forgive his rudeness." "It's okay." Ye Shuang laughed awkwardly before returning her attention to the menu. She had decided to stay away from this haughty young woman from this moment on. She was certain that they weren't meant to be friends, and that was fine with her. After Fong Fei returned, instead of having a condescending attitude towards Ye Shuang, she acted as if Ye Shuang wasn't in the room at all. She focused on the conversation with her older brother only. Fong Mo gave Ye Shuang multiple apologetic glances, but all Ye Shuang did was smile sweetly in return. But that wasn't all Fong Fei did. As the host, Fong Mo tried to bring Ye Shuang into the conversation, but the cold-faced beauty always managed to interrupt the conversation or pull her away from Ye Shuang completely. Since Ye Shuang didn't think it was beneficial to ruffle this young lady's feathers, she took out her phone and continued to read her web novel instead. Fong Mo was caught between a rock and a hard place. One of them was his younger sister and the other was a new friend whose friendship he had a very good impression of and wished to make lasting. If they really couldn't get along, he'd simply decrease their interaction in the future, but they had to at least do their homework on the surface, right? With this thought in mind, Fong Mo, who usually had a soft spot for his sister, couldn't help but give Fang Fei a displeased look. Fang Fei was shocked by her look. After a miserable pout, she finally stopped dominating the conversation. The food was soon served, and Ye Shuang just happened to be finishing a chapter. When she looked up, she saw that Fang Mo was putting a plate of delicious food in front of her. "It's time for dinner," Fang Mo said with a smile as he rolled up his sleeves to serve her several crab dumplings, adding, "You must try this, it's the chef's specialty. I assure you that you will never taste a better Chinese meatball anywhere else." It was terribly intimate for Fang Mo to personally serve Ye Shuang, but Ye Shuang could understand why when he saw the heavy apology on Fang Mo's face. He was obviously representing his little sister by apologizing to her. Since her big brother was already doing so much for her, what else could Ye Shuang do or say? She couldn't just slam the table, stand up and say, "You think I have nothing better to do than to suffer your prudish attitude," and leave, could she? However, before she could even take a bite of the Chinese meatballs, Fang Fei snapped coldly. "Big brother, why would you serve a stranger and not your own sister?" Ye Shuang felt that if she stayed any longer, her dignity as a human being would be lost, so she put down the wand and stood up, saying, "I suddenly remembered that I have something urgent to take care of. I'll meet you next time." Fang Mo realized that he could no longer mediate. He slammed the chopsticks and scolded his sister, "I still have something to discuss with Mr. Yi, go home first." "But I..." Fang Fei still wanted to say something, but she was snubbed by Fang Mo. "If there's something you want to discuss, we can talk about it at home." In the end, Fang Mo prevailed. After Fang Fei grabbed her purse and flew out of the room in a ball of fury, Fang Mo sat down and sighed. "I'm really sorry, Fei Fei isn't normally like this. I understand, girls always have a few days in the month where they're not themselves," Ye Shuang said naturally, but when she saw the offense and shock on Fang Mo's face, she realized that it wasn't something she could comment on, considering her current gender. "I mean, you shouldn't have apologized." The atmosphere was already ruined, so anything she said next could only be awkward. In the end, Fang Mo had only known Ye Shuang for one night. It was really inappropriate for Ye Shuang to have commented on her little sister's personality and body function. Therefore, even though Fang Mo asked Ye Shuang to finish dinner, there wasn't much conversation between them after that. When the dinner was over, Ye Shuang sighed with relief. Even with the company of his handsome boss, the meal was unpleasant because of the broken atmosphere. While Fang Mo was busy paying the bill, Ye Shuang ignored the question of decency and escaped when she saw the opportunity. "Thank you for your treat today, I really have something to do, see you next time." Fang Mo realized that this was an escape attempt, so he immediately called Ye Shuang. "Wait, let me send you home." "It's okay." Ye Shuang did not give the other party a chance to say anything else. Remembering her own bags of clothes, she left carrying them in her arms. "See you soon, bye." "Wait." Fang Mo was about to get up to run after Ye Shuang when a voice from outside the door drifted into the room. "You want to run away without paying? Xiao Mo, are you trying to have dinner and run away to my restaurant?" Ye Shuang turned around to see a fat chef in a white hat appear out of nowhere, heading inside the room she had just escaped from. From the tone, it sounded like it was someone Fang Mo knew. Fang Mo didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Uncle Liu, I will definitely." Before he could finish his sentence, Ye Shuang's shadow had already disappeared. The chief scratched his head curiously. "Wait, wasn't there a person standing there just now?" Fang Mo let out a long sigh. "I guess I'll apologize to him next time." Just like that, his new friend had been chased away by his own little sister. What Fang Mo didn't know was that while he was making this decision, his new friend ran into Miss Fang just as he was leaving the restaurant. Miss Fang was standing at the side of the road in a bright red dress. She was extremely conspicuous and was practically standing in the middle of the entrance, so even if Ye Shuang wanted to pretend he hadn't seen her, it was impossible. Just as she was wondering what to do, Miss Fong happened to turn around. When she saw her, she scoffed, "What are you looking at? I'm not here waiting for you. Why aren't you talking? Are you dumb or blind? Can't you see that one of my heels is broken? Hey!" Ye Shuang finally lost his patience. "Do you want me to break the other heel so that they match?"
Chapter 15, So romantic, so valiant. How to handle a broken heel in the restaurant.
Without looking closely, Ye Shuang realized at a glance that Miss Fong was a bit unsteady on her feet. Even though she kept an upright posture as best she could, with Ye Shuang's new and improved eyesight, she could discern that the other party's center of balance was tilted slightly to the right. She glanced down, and when she saw Miss Fong standing on tiptoe on her left leg, she immediately noticed the broken heel. This sudden outburst earned Ye Shuang a fiery look from the young woman. Finally, Ye Shuang surrendered with a sigh. "Your big brother is already going out, shall I go get him for you?" Ye Shuang asked in a kinder tone. Miss Fong continued to stare at her. "Or do you think my idea was actually pretty good?" Ye Shuang half-jokingly suggested, "This way, you'll get a better balance. We'll just change these heels into slippers." Miss Fong finally opened her lips to command, "Come and hold me." Even though Ye Shuang was a man at that time, there were still some experiences she didn't feel like trying, one of which was getting kicked in the nuts. She looked at Miss Fong's broken heel and a chill ran up her spine. Miss Fong stared at her as if it was an honor for her to have the opportunity to hold her, but Ye Shuang lifted the bags hanging all over her arms and said, "But my hands are fully occupied right now." Miss Fong's gaze became sharp as a laser, as if she was trying to cut her with her eyes. Technically speaking, Miss Fong could be considered as someone who had social difficulties. This was because she was raised on a pedestal from a young age. This, combined with an older brother who constantly adored her, meant that Fong Fei had a natural arrogance in her demeanor. Her gaze did not linger for more than 2 seconds on those she was not interested in, which was more than half of the population, but those she wanted to approach, she did not know how to do so, because like her brother, she was a bit socially inept. For example, her intention was to get another person's attention, but when the words came into her mouth, they were diverted into another form because she was afraid the other person would see her desire, or maybe she just couldn't bring herself to be vulnerable to others, even in a simple conversational setting. It was not unlike the way young boys get the attention of girls they like by bullying or playing pranks on them. Ultimately, they just wanted to be noticed. This kind of action was understandable and could even be considered cute from children, but from an adult, it would naturally be considered boring and annoying. Ye Shuang was the perfect example of this. She didn't understand Miss Fong's interest in her at all, and the way she saw it, Miss Fong simply had an inexplicable hatred towards her. Thus, after Miss Fong's multiple failures to get close to Ye Shuang, her confidence was greatly affected, and her defenses rose even more. It created a never-ending vicious circle. Looking at the tall, handsome man who was wrapped in the glow of the restaurant and the obvious lack of willpower in his eyes, Miss Fong suddenly felt outraged. One could say that she turned her embarrassment into anger. "If you don't want to help, then go away." The moment these words left her lips, Miss Fong felt like biting her tongue. Fortunately, Miss Fong had the self-awareness to know how unreasonably she had acted that night, but a habit she had had for years couldn't be changed just like that. However, her regret greatly diminished the next second, because the moment she finished her sentence, the handsome man easily walked away with a sigh of relief. Miss Fong stomped her foot angrily, but in her anger, she forgot her broken heel. She lost her balance, and the world began to tip sideways. Miss Fong closed her eyes to brace herself for impact, just as she was about to kiss the ground. However, at the last moment, a warm hand reached out to hold her with unwavering stability. The next second, an arm reached under her legs, and when she straightened up, Miss Fong realized she was lying in a pair of wide, powerful arms. "I'll take you to find your brother." Ye Shuang sighed helplessly. But you have to understand that I'm not taking advantage of you, I'm just trying to be nice. No matter how horrible this woman was, Ye Shuang couldn't stand still and watch her collapse face first on the ground. Therefore, her body moved before she even ordered it to. Besides, she knew her brother. She wouldn't look good when Miss Fong told the story to Fong Mo. It looked like she had refused to help him, even though she was standing right there. Miss Fong was completely stunned. Looking at the sculpted face above her, she unconsciously shook her head. Her unapproachable presence from before had completely disappeared. Ye Shuang held the over 50 kilograms young woman in her arms, along with tons of shopping bags, hanging from her arms, as she walked back towards the restaurant. The ease with which she accomplished this task naturally attracted the attention of the crowd. "This is so romantic," said one of the younger girls. "This is so brave," said one of the young men, who was impressed by Ye Shuang's physical strength. Ye Shuang felt strangely proud, as if someone was shining a main character spotlight on her. The moment she entered the restaurant, the young woman in her arms suddenly grunted, "Didn't you say your arms were completely occupied?" I guess you could say that when you want to, you can," Ye Shuang awkwardly replied. Fong Mo really didn't know how to describe his feeling when he saw his new friend returning to the restaurant carrying his little sister in his arms. What? Fong Mo's CPU was running late. "It's a long story." Ye Shuang sighed sadly. She passed the young woman to her brother and said, "Ask her if you want to know more. In any case, take her back for now, one of her high heels broke, and I'm in a hurry to go elsewhere." When Ye Shuang passed Fong Fei, Miss Fong unconsciously sank further into Ye Shuang's embrace. When Fong Fei realized what she was doing, she quickly released her arms around Ye Shuang's neck as a blush rose on her face. When Fong Mo agreed to take his sister back, he could clearly see the reluctance on his sister's face.